All right, I want to talk about this concept of making custom alphas to be used either in Blender or, in my case, Substance Painter. And it comes up primarily when I'm thinking about doing something that's a mechanical piece of equipment like an air conditioner or a computer or an electrical panel. You know, when you have the panel and there's a little sort of line that goes around, so it makes it look like you've got a panel there. And it can be a real hassle creating that. So for example, if I take this piece, I'm just going to start working on this here. I'm going to scale this in the X a little bit, and let's just drag it up to here, and maybe we'll scale it down in the Z just a little bit. Let's shape this thing the way we want it, and let's pretend that this here is going to be our computer or some kind of a mechanical or electrical device, right? And you want to do a panel in here. You know, you could go in and, like inset this and try to get it to work and then do a cut or a boolean of some sort. It can be quite destructive if you do it in modeling. And if you were to go into Substance Painter, you're not going to be able to do it very easily in Blender without an alpha. But if you try to do it in Substance Painter, the size of this isn't going to fit any of the pre-made alphas that you have. Maybe you got a rectangle or something. So you're going to be trying to like draw a line, and it's hard to get them to match up. And then how do you curve it? So this is the solution that I sometimes use that I thought might be helpful to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to pretend this is a computer. All right. I'm going to select it all. I'm going to go Control E, Mark Seam. I'm going to come over to UV editing, and I'm just going to press U, unwrap, and I get this. All right, now I'm going to switch to UV sync, and we're going to look at these pieces. This one and this one, those are the side ones. So I'm going to take this and just move it up. These ones, just press G and just move them out of the way for the time being. And this one I'm going to bring down here. I want both of these. Now, this one is the right side and that's the left side. Okay, that's good. Now, before we go any further, let's just see if I can select this. Is that the top? That's the top. This one here, that's the top. Okay, so they're at least the right side up. All right, I'm going to, we can work on getting these lined up in a second. Now, I definitely want the front in there. I'm going to take this and I'm going to snap to vertex, and I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to GY and snap it to there. And I've got this one, and I can take these other ones. These ones are not going to be really important. I'm going to rotate this 90, but as we'll see, we're going to get rid of this one and only use the fronts. So let's take that and just move it in so they sort of fit like that. And I'm not even concerned about lining these up as I am with these ones. So I'm going to take the whole thing. I'm just going to scale it in a little bit, make sure it fits, and make sure I've got a little bit of a gap on these ones, and just double check again that I've got the top. Okay, I think we're good to go. So I have some UVs for this computer here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to export the UV layout. And I'm going to call this a UV computer, something like that. And I'm going to export that. I'm also going to take this and I'm going to export this as an FBX. And I'm going to put that in the same place. So I'm just going to call this, I'll just call this computer. Selected objects. There. Now, I'm going to come into Substance Painter and switch this to OpenGL and select this. And there's my computer. Bring that in. Actually, I think to make it look a little nicer, I'll put a little bevel on this. That won't affect it really. So I'm going to put bevel. I'm going to go for 3 and 0.01. I'm just not going to apply it. So we'll just have that. And I'm going to export that now. come back here, choose Edit Project Configuration, select it, and just bring it in again. So there it is, and I'm going to bake the mesh maps for this. Uncheck ID and uncheck thickness. I'll put this at 2048 and bake it. And you can see the squares, and it looks like pretty decent resolution, and that's all it is a big block there. All right, I'm not going to be cutting in, I'm not going to be changing the geometry. So I've got over here the UV layout that I need, and this is the right side, this is the left side, and this one is, so we'll just figure out which one is the front. This one is the front, so I'm actually going to move that over here, just so that I remember. All right, I'm going to re-export that again. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to draw on this in order to create my alpha. And what I'm going to use, you could use Photoshop, you can use GIMP, you can use Affinity, whatever. I'm actually going to end up using Flash, an old version of Flash, which is pretty ancient. So I'm going to set this right now, actually. I'll do it at 1024 by 1024. And with that, you know, because you want a square size to work in Substance Painter. So I'm going to import to stage that thing. So let's find it. There we go, the UVs. All right, so I've got that there. So I've got the side panels and I've got this one. These ones, other ones, I'm not actually going to need, but I'm just going to call this layer UV. All right, so I'm going to come up another layer, create a new layer, click my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to use the stroke. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a white stroke, because in Substance Painter, we're making a height map. I'm going to drop the height on a fill layer. I'm going to drop the height, and so the white stuff is going to go in, and the black stuff is not going to go in, or is going to go up. If I come over to the alphas, you're going to see that they're white on a black background, and this could just be a JPEG if you want it to be. All right, and so if I drop the height and I bring the arrow is going to be in depressed. You can come out or you can go in. So I'm going to do a similar thing over here. So I've got my rectangle tool, but I want it to be rounded. And again, this is one of the harder thing to do in the modeling or in the texturing, unless you have an alpha of the right size. So I'm going to set this at maybe 4. We'll try that. And I'm going to want this to be white. And I'm going to start dragging this out. I'm going to zoom in. And we're going to make this size, I'm going to reset that to 4 pixels. Okay, so let's just look at this. It's not quite the right shape. And so I'm going to have to do a little bit of fiddling. And it's a little bit weird in Flash for doing this. Let's see, do I have it on there? Yes. So I'm just going to grab this and zoom in again. And so just bear with me as I do this. I'm going to pull it out like that till it's about equal. And I'm just going to grab this and snap it to there. And I'll snap this to there. And I'll grab the bottom and make it a little bit longer. All right, we're just creating our indent. You can't see it as an indent yet, but it will be. All right, so I've got that so far. All right, so I'm now going to take that and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to move that over to this. So these will be the 2 side panel parts. So I just want to see that it's roughly, okay, that's good. I also want that on the top. So I'm going to take one of these, or I should say on the front. Paste in place. And I'm going to move it up, and I have to slide it over. So I'll just do that while I'm looking here. I'm just looking at this front one. So I'm just going to get this roughly down to where I would want it. So let's go with that. All right. And now I'm going to, the top doesn't look too bad, actually. Maybe just 1. Okay. Zoom in here. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to grab that edge. And now I'm going to start just bringing that in and getting it roughly equal. Then I can select that and delete it, and select that and delete it. Okay, so we start with those lines. They may actually be a little bit too thick. I'm going to bring this down to 3, a stroke of 3. Change that to 3. That still may even be too thick, but I'll go with that. So in this case, white is going to go down. Now I want to put more stuff on this, in particular this area, and a little bit on here. We're going to put some bolts as well, which is another thing which is perfect for doing it in texture. And so white, actually this looks a little off. I want to zoom in. Yeah, I didn't get the whole thing. Sometimes that you have to watch out for that in Flash. I need to make sure that it's all consistently a size of 3. I think we're okay. I want different levels available to me so that I can have some stuff that go down real far, and I want some stuff that doesn't go down as far, and some stuff that actually even sticks up. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select my paint, and I'm going to come to a medium gray, and I'm going to put that in. Now, it's hard to see that, so I'm going to switch the background now to black. I don't even need to see my UVs anymore. All right, I just have this stuff. And so I'm going to drop some mid-gray in there. So now the white is an extreme color. It's like pure white. And that's going to go in as far as it can. And the gray is going to be a little higher. And then anything I do in black is going to be raised up in this case. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do I'm going to lock this layer, just create a new layer, and I'm going to use a circle. And I'm going to have the outline in white, the stroke in white, and I'm going to change the fill to black. And I'm going to zoom way in. And I'm going to find one of these. And I'm going to create a little circle to represent like a bolt. It doesn't matter how big. That stroke is too big, so I'll just double click that and I'll make the stroke maybe 1. We'll try that. That might be too big, but so I've got this black region and this white. So let's just get that where we want it. And we'll be looking at what this does in just a second. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it over to here. And I'll take the whole layer and I'll do it this way. Copy and paste in place. And then we'll start pushing it down. We'll zoom out. Flash is not always the easiest thing to use, but I don't have Photoshop right now. But you could certainly do this in GIMP. Okay, and let's just bring that down. Okay, and while we're here, I might as well take, let's say, those two. Let's just zoom out again. And copy them. Paste in place. And start moving them down to here. So I want these sort of bolt panels on both sides. So I'm going to just take this and just move this one up to here. And I'll take this one and move it out to the side. Let's double check. All right, so we have light gray, we have a white border, and we have some what might be bullets. So let's have a look at what this can do for us. All right, so I'm going to just save this as a JPEG, and I'll put that over here, and let's call this just computer. Let's call this Alpha Computer. All right. I'm going to save this at, I'm going to save it at 2048. And the nice thing about Flash is, as a vector program, I can scale it up, I can scale it down. You could do 1024, that's totally fine. I'll do it at 2048 and we'll see how it looks. So I'm just going to save that. Now, I'm going to come back to here. Now, I don't actually have any materials on here yet. I'm just going to turn on anti-aliasing. So you could do anything you want with metals or whatever. I might just grab a quick smart material, like throw that on, just to have a material on there. And let's see what this looks like. The way I'm going to use this is I'm going to create a fill layer. And all I really want is the height. And I'm going to take the height. Let's try dropping it down halfway. Let's add a black mask and a fill. And go to the properties and just have this grayscale available. Now I'm going to import that alpha. Custom alpha max. Okay. Let's just go to there. So I want this alpha computer JPEG. I do that. I'm going to define it as an alpha and to the current session and import. And there it is. I'm going to take this and just drag it over the grayscale and release. Okay, so we've got panels on here. Without doing anything in geometry, I still have the ability to come back here and adjust the depth of this kind of stuff. So we know that white is going in and black is coming out. Let's just create a new layer, use the stroke tool and set this on. Maybe we'll try 3 and just see. I'm just going to draw some horizontal lines like this. Maybe we'll make them a bit bigger. That's 3, eh? That's 4 like. Okay, let's take that and copy and paste it and just give it that much space. Select the whole thing, copy and paste in place. 1, 2. We'll do one more. Edit, copy, edit, paste in place. 1, 2. Oops, not like that. 1, 2. There we go. So we've got this stuff in there. Let's just see how central that is. Maybe I'll take it and just move it over a bit. It's not bad. Let's see what that does for us. This stuff should be indented like the little vent in a computer or some kind of technological thing. So I'm just going to export this again over top of this. Save it again. Same size and everything. Come over here. Now I've got one. This was the old one. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab that same image. I'm going to define it as an alpha, current session, bring it in, and now I have 2 of them, but the new one I just brought in has a blue box. I'm going to come to the fill layer and I'm going to drag this over. And now we have this. Now, to do this in geometry would have been quite the pain, you know, and it wouldn't have looked all that good, I don't think. But here we have it as a texture. This is just, you know, a box, and we've got it as a texture. Now, let's have a look at doing something else and getting some of this, the edge kind of color into the alpha so it looks a little bit more realistic. And so what we can do is I'm going to open up the Smart Material. This layer here is what's causing this stuff here. All right, and I'm going, there's a generator here, and so I'm going to take this alpha layer. I'm going to call this alpha. Call it just alpha. And on the part that's got, on the black mask that's got the alpha here in the fill, I'm going to create an anchor point and it'll get the name alpha mask. But I'm going to drag this below the generator that creates this yellow or brownish stuff. So I've got an anchor there. I'm going to come to the generator, in this case the dirt edges, and I'm going to scroll down to micro details. Now this one is actually turned on. It says true for micro height. You want to make sure that's true. And down here, micro height, I'm going to choose that anchor point, which is alpha mask. And that does that. Now we can still come to the levels and start playing with the levels to make that less. I'm just going to come to there. You can also clean it up using this and just tweak it to the way that you like it. Just to make it a little bit more realistic, I can also change this to 2048, sorry. So we have some indents there, and there's something else we can do with that in a moment. Let's just go on and do a little bit more and explore this, keeping in mind this is all that it is. All right, we're doing this in texture. We're doing our own custom alpha stuff. So the white goes in, black comes out. What if we wanted something to sort of come out partially and have something even on top of that? So for example, I'm going to come down here. Maybe we want like a nameplate on this. So I was going to make another layer, might as well. And I'm going to choose my rectangle tool again. And I'll go with a roundness of 4. That's okay. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle here, something like that. And then I can change this. I want to keep this as white, but I'm going to try just one. All right, let's just try one. Instead of black, which would come all the way out, let's try not quite black. Let's try that. So I won't go to the same mid-gray, just a little darker. And then on top of that, let's put some text. And I'm just going to call this something like VFX. If I can type that, VFX. And I'm going to make this black so that it would come out as far as possible. Increase the size and just push that in there. All right, something like that. So we could have multiple layers here or levels with the white going in, the gray coming above the main level here, and then the black as the highest level of all. So let's just try that. Let's just export it again. Every time you make a change, we'll just export it. And then re-import this, Alpha Computer. Define it as an alpha to the current session. The only thing is, alpha, current session, they will build up here. Now you can always go back to this one and drag it in. The current one has got a blue box around it, but they will build up. All right, so I want to come to my fill, which is right here, and I'm going to drag this over the grayscale. And this is what we get. And it gets the anchor point stuff because it's still on the same alpha layer. So this is actually got some levels to it. It's not that all that noticeable. It goes in, and this may not be the best smart material to use. All right, and then you can always go back to the levels and play with it and see what it is you want to do to make it look the best. All right, let's try something else. Let's come in here. I'm just going to keep that as a layer. And let's do one more thing. Let's try, let's see how I want to do this. I'm going to bring in a circle. I don't care about the colors right now because I can always go back. I'm going to bring in a circle like that. And let's see if I cut it in half like this, delete that. I'll delete this part as well. And if I drag this out like that, let's say it may not be perfectly straight. There's ways to do it better, like that. Let's make this thicker. Be nice to have it the same. Let's see, something like that. Now that would be okay. What if I was to take that and let's say if I fill that with white so it goes down, I'm not going to be able to fill it. I have to actually join, I believe I have to join these in order to fill it. No, but black, let's fill it with white. Yeah, it's okay like that. Yeah, I'm going to take this and I'm going to convert it to a symbol. It's just easier to move along here. And I'm going to just drag it down. Oh, I see I have to get rid of a couple of things that I left behind. All right, all right, so we have this. And let's do something else on top of that. Let's just do another layer. Let's make a circle. Let's actually use a stroke that's about there, and let's use black. And it's like a power button of some sort there. We'll see what that looks like. It's sort of trial and error. I'll put it in there like that. Let's just see what that does for us. All right, so the white is the same as the stroke, so it should go down, and we'll see what kind of buttony structure we get. Of course, you can always mix, the textures and some actual geometry, and there's nothing that replaces geometry. Geometry I think, will almost always look best, but it may not be feasible, and so that's why we're doing this. All right, so we'll save it again, overwrite this, back into Substance Painter, and we will import that JPEG. We'll define it as an alpha to the current session and import. There's now 4 of them, but this one's got the blue box around it. We'll come to our fill, and we'll get set to just drag it on top and see. That is kind of cool. Let's do something about this great section up here. I'm just going to create a paint layer above. I'm going to snap into orthographic, zoom in. I'm going to choose a brush, a hard brush, and I'm going to choose down here color and roughness. And I want roughness because I want to drag the roughness all the way up and make this black. I don't want it reflecting or anything, so I want to make it seem sort of like a hole. I'm going to scale this down quite a bit, and maybe we'll get in a bit closer. Scale it down and click, hold Shift and Control to the end to put some black. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not going to get right up close to this thing. We'll just do this to sort of give the impression that it's cut. Now you could of course paint opacity here. You could do that sometime if you want me to. You could paint opacity, then you could see right through it or into it. But let's try that. Let's jump back to perspective, F, and move out a bit. Something like that. All right, so that's what this effect does. And again, we're just using just our block, and this is all texture. All right, and then you could do all kinds of designs that you want to do. You can get, a few different levels. You can get cut way down in. You can get a little bit higher. You can get a little bit higher. The one last thing that I sometimes would like to do, I'll just pop back into here, is come in here and let's add an emissive channel to here. So there's an emissive, and I'm just gonna do it as a paint layer. Yeah, actually no, I'm gonna do it as a fill layer. All right, and we'll do color and emission, and I'll make this like a greenish kind of color, and this one I'll make as a greenish kind of color. We'll try this anyhow. We'll add a black mask and a paint layer. Let's see how it looks if we just sort of paint this. I'm not doing a very good job. I should probably just increase the size, but let's say we've got that. Let's jump back to perspective, and let's come over here, and I actually want to go to this one. I want to increase the emissive intensity. Yeah, I could probably do a better job of that. All right, let's touch that up. Let's just use a circle of the right size. Just one click. Even like that, okay, fine. Let's go back to perspective, and let's increase the emissive intensity. We can also turn on post effects, glare. We could do that, and maybe we'll just make it as bloom. Okay. And there you have your textured box. All right, so the point of this really was just to show that when it's a little bit difficult to do it in modeling, and even though you're in Substance Painter and you want to do a big panel, how are you going to do that? You're going to have to draw it on somehow. How are you going to get it the right size and, have the ends meet and stuff? You can bring the UV maps into a drawing program, draw all kinds of stuff. You can draw whatever you want on here and define the height by the colors, white, gray, black, and then bring that in as an alpha and put it on. If you were in Blender, you could create this stuff here that we just looked at, And you could, now this is just using height. You can do this in normal maps. Maybe we'll look at that sometime in the future. You could bring this into Blender and plug it in as an image. Remember, this is computer.jpg or alpha computer.jpg. You would take that, connect it to a color ramp, connect it to a bump node, which you can adjust. You can invert it if you want it in or out, and you plug that into the normal. You can then still play with the principal BSDF materials and stuff, but you now have this as bump, and it does the same kind of thing. You're, of course, not going to get the edge wear and all the details that Substance Painter can do. Anyhow, just experiment with that. Even just throw one in when you're doing your next electrical panel. You could do that as your panel thing here, and then go ahead and do your modeling of pipes and, you know, vents and stuff like that, just to give it a try and see if it makes your life a little easier. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.